Well, with today's Media Watch, James Creedon joins us in the studio. Hello there, James. And we're going back to our top story, of course, the Strasbourg shooting, an international manhunt underway for Sherif Shekat, a 29-year-old with a string of convictions behind him. There is a lot of strange talk going on the internet today. Yeah. Some people think this is all fabricated. It didn't really happen. It's been made up to discredit the Gilets jaunes movement.
That's right. There was a lot of talk of, well, there was a lot of conspiracy theories during the rounds on social media this evening, and even early yesterday evening after the attack.
It happened about this time yesterday, yeah.
That's right, around 8 p.m. In any case, just to look at one incident that got a lot of shares online. This is BFM TV, rolling news channel here in France, and there were quite a few screen grabs of people, you know, doing sleuthing, sort of citizen journalism gone wrong, basically, pointing out that, hold on a minute, the BFM coverage says that they put up this alert about the shooting in Strasbourg 13 hours ago when it only happened 2 hours ago. So how come the media were talking about this before it ever happened? Echoes of kind of conspiracy theories surrounding other big events like 9/11, saying the media spoke about it before it ever happened. And this notion that there's a kind of a big conspiracy between the media and sort of shadowy government forces.
It's particularly far-fetched, though, to say that the media and the government are in on a staged.
Well, certainly, I think we can say here that we were in the newsroom and that when it happened, it was the first we heard of it.
We have people there in Strasbourg, right?
That's right. And if working in the media bubble and it had been sort of spoken about 8 hours previously, I think we'd know about it. So it just goes to show people very far removed from how the media sort of functions, jumping to conclusions on the basis of actually what happened here. Simply, the device that the screen grab was taken on was set to GMT minus 8 hours. So, you know, your phone can be on the wrong time zone. You can pull up BFM TV and then it'll tell you that it happened at such and such a time. In any case, really just very basic stupidity, might I say
error,
that?
Basically, yeah.
That's right, in terms of jumping to conclusions. Now, there were also people talking about the timing of this. I think this is what got a lot of people chattering online. And indeed, there were a lot of people talking about, oh, how coincidental this timing, just as Emmanuel Macron, his government, is going through a serious, serious crisis. And indeed, you could argue that from Emmanuel Macron's point of view that this conveniently takes the attention away.
Because nothing gets people to rally around their leader more than a terrorist.
So certainly,
sadly,
you know, the fact that media attention is going elsewhere is, you know, not unhelpful. But certainly the authorities, I think, to kind of take it to that nth degree and say that, as some people were saying as well, oh, now we're going back into the state of emergency, l'état d'urgence, which means people won't be able to demonstrate in the streets. Again, factually incorrect. We're not back in the state of emergency which France was in for a couple of years after the big terror attacks that affected Paris in particular. There is a kind of a lockdown situation in Strasbourg where people won't be able to demonstrate, but that doesn't apply to the rest of the country. So those who do want to demonstrate on Saturday in the continuation of the Gilets jaunes movement, they can do it. So there was a lot of talk about that on the Gilets jaunes Facebook pages. It is a movement mostly sort of that has been fomented on Facebook. This is one guy, Maxime Nicole, who just, you know, he's created a Facebook page with about 135,000 followers.
I think he's been on some of the French news networks.
Yes, he's one of the better known Gilets jaunes, and he said, well, tell me, you know, if they really, what, you know, why, basically what he was saying is, couldn't they just explode something on the Champs-Élysées if they wanted to really make it, why have this kind of side incident that doesn't create so much damage somewhere like Strasbourg? In other words, he was saying, you know, it's creating the distraction without all of the drama. But again, you know, and that got a huge amount of shares. And a lot of people saying that or articles such as this saying that the Gilets jaunes Facebook pages are submerged with conspiracy theories. So this has done, I suppose, a certain amount to discredit elements of the movement. You can see here as well some screen grabs that are just showing this person saying the mainstream really here is a kind of a conspiracy theory aspect. Now, just to get to, this is Anne Sinclair, by the way, a veteran journalist from France, who was deploring the early signs of this last night, saying, well, we're weeping with Strasbourg and its inhabitants and just so upset for what's happened. Some paranoid people are coming out with these conspiracy theories. So a lot of people kind of upset about that. Now, to kind of explain why you would have such an amount of people coming out with these conspiracy theories, I think I found a couple of articles that I think...
Well, they spread so quickly online nowadays.
That's right. Now, first of all, massive degree of mistrust amongst the Gilets jaunes of Emmanuel Macron. 20% popular approval rating. And as this article says here, the week when Emmanuel Macron finally understood to the extent to which he is actually despised by a lot of the Gilets jaunes movement. He was booed at the Arc de Triomphe when he went there after the first Saturday when things got particularly out of hand, when the Arc de Triomphe was vandalised, and he was being booed. And some analysis is saying that it was really only at this moment that Emmanuel Macron kind of finally realised the extent to which there is a lot of virulent anger towards him. Right. And so there's that. There's also the fact that the times we're living in, if I can scroll up here, well, that was statistics rather about how the Gilets jaunes movement is still supported. Also, governing generally in this day and age,
it's interesting when you've got
the
the
area
Google
of social
CEO,
media, it's really difficult. Huh?
Interesting at a time when you've got the Google CEO answering questions over in the United States. It's interesting to see.
Absolutely, and indeed with social media now, the facts. It's kind of,
they are so powerful.
They're secondary to emotions. They're secondary to emotions. Second point that I would make about, so you have the deep impopularity of Emmanuel Macron and a deep mistrust as well amongst the Gilets jaunes of the media. You've had a lot of aggressive kind of behaviour towards journalists who are covering the demonstrations. Actually, some journalists saying, it's the first time I've ever been to a demonstration like this that I was asked for my press pass. People didn't even believe. They thought, you know, who is this deep distrust?
Well, we saw journalists had their cameras smashed, didn't we?
That's right. So there's this sort of, what would you say? There's also, I suppose, the way in which the media does when it comes to a terror event. They do tend to go into overdrive and it's wall-to-wall coverage, which would irk some of the Gilets jaunes who say, hold on, when it's about us, you just focus on the fire and the brimstone and the bad moments. You're not talking about the majority of peaceful protesters. So it's a whole load of things, mistrust of the powers that be, mistrust of the media, the way in which social media function and kind of foment all of this. Facts are secondary to emotions, and it creates this kind of perfect storm whereby people buy into sort of facile conspiracy theories when...
well, tensions are running very high in France, and last night's tragedy in Strasbourg really adds to all of that, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
All right, James, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. James Creedon with Media Watch. We're going to